I play a game with my students. It's called What's My Idol? This is what I one of the very first sessions of the class. What's my idol? Where I take them through a little bit of Aquinas. They read a little bit of Aquinas. And I say, look, this is the first modern, really great behavioral scientist, is St. Thomas Aquinas. And it's, don't read it for the religious parts. Let's read it for the behavioral parts of this. And I say, okay, he says that the idols that you're going to chase are ultimately, there's going to be one that attracts you more than any other.
Yeah, right.
And that when you do, you'll always do the things that you later regret. That's the thing about it. Okay, and that's behavior.
That's what makes them idols.
I know.
Right, they becken falsely in the present.
And that's very empirically robust. A very empirically robust assertion, of course. We know this from all the literature that, that when people chase these idols, that they're ultimately, they don't get what they wanted.
Right,
and
they're self-defeating.
Have a lot of regret.
Yeah.
So I say, okay, let's play a game. And the way to do this is not to say what's your idol, but to eliminate the ones that they're not your idol.
Okay.
You want to play?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So money, power, pleasure, honor. Mm-hmm. And honor is not what we say with my Marine children, which is to serve with honor. That means to be honored.
Yeah.
And so
the
that
narcissistic
means, so that means
gratification.
fame or what we have in academia, which is prestige. Mm-hmm. To walk in and people say, oh, it's Jordan Peterson who wrote that paper. Mm-hmm. That paper that got the award last year, or whatever it happens to be. Mm-hmm. Or the admiration of strangers or the admiration of the right group of people, right? Which we want. It's your lobsters, right? That raises serotonin levels. Okay. Okay. So think of those four. And then let's think of the one you would first eliminate, which doesn't mean you don't have it at all, but rather that you have the population mean level of it. So if you got rid of money, for example, you wouldn't be poor. You just have exactly the population mean amount of that. So you wouldn't be there would be no deprivation whatsoever. Money, power, pleasure, fame. Which one do you kick away?
Power.
Why?
I'm not interested in exerting control over others' voluntary actions.
So if I were to, you're the clinical psychologist and I'm just a working class economist, but I would say that the reason for that is because you hate when people have power over you.
Well, that's certainly an indication of the undesirability of power. That's my lived experience of the, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate being told what to do.
Not everybody hates that.
Yes, I understand that.
People who really like power actually are not bothered that much when people have power over them because it feels legitimate inherently. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So you find that totalitarians are pretty comfortable when they're in totalitarian systems. They would just like to be the totalitarian.
Right.
So you find that dictators admire dictators.
Funny, I was just writing about exactly that this morning.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is part of our misunderstanding of totalitarian systems.
Yeah.
Everyone is striving to be free except the bully on the top. It's like, no, it's bullies all the way down.
I know.
Yeah.
So that's, okay, so now we've established that about you.
Yeah,
but you kicked away power.
Yeah.
You got three left. Money, pleasure, and honor. What's next?
Pleasure, probably. Pleasure? No, money, probably.
Money. Why?
Taste is an excellent substitute for money. Like you're talking about the population mean of money.
Population mean of money.
If you're wise and discerning, that you're rich with that amount of money.
Yeah. And I would also postulate, correct me if I'm wrong, that given the fact that your material success, among other things, has taught you, using your self-awareness as a behavioral scientist, that there's not that much nice stuff that you can get with money. It's really not that interesting.
Well, the big advantage to me of having money is that it opens up avenues of possibility. It makes some things easier.
Right.
Medical care.
It does.
But it opens up avenues.
Sources of unhappiness.
Yes. And it opens up avenues of adventure that would otherwise be impossible.
But they're not the things you care about the most.
Well, there's other ways of doing them.
Yeah.
There's other ways of doing them that are they equally valuable? Sufficiently so that was my second choice anyways.
The things that I love the most are not things you buy. People say, if I could keep everything in a knapsack, I would be detached. And I say, no, I would still rent everything I want. The whole point is that buying stuff is not that interesting.
Well, money is useful to me because it enables opportunity.
Right.
It's not particularly useful to me because I can buy stuff with it. I mean, I buy some things, but look, in a culture like ours, you can buy virtually everything you need for nothing if you pay attention.
I know.
Virtually everything is free. Food, maybe not. But
I have a whole lecture on how to buy happiness with money, and you have to go exactly against your limbic system. Why? Because your limbic system tells you to accumulate resources beyond what you need to show your evolutionary fitness, such that you can get more mates and propagate.
Right.
You need more buffalo jerky and animal and flints in your cave. And the guy, anyway. Okay, so you got two left: pleasure and honor. Now it's hot in here because these are things that you like.
Yeah.
And this is normal.
Yeah.
But you've got to get rid of one and go to the population mean, which is a
pleasure, probably next.
Yeah. And now we've established what your temptation is. Now we've established that doesn't mean that you can't tame it, but you must know it. You must say to yourself, honor. When I do the wrong thing, it's because I pursue honor. By the way, I'm exactly like you. Why?
It's too bad for you.
Well, it's too bad for my wife and yours.
Yeah, and your wife. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's because, I hate people having power over me. I don't want to have power over others. I was a chief executive for 11 years. And the thing I hated was when people called me boss. It made me intensely uncomfortable. It made me feel embarrassed, even humiliated when people said boss, because I felt like they were setting up a hierarchy. It felt passive aggressive, even when it wasn't, because of this aversion.
Right.
Money. Okay, great.
Well, if you're someone's boss, it's not obvious who the slave is.
Right.
Right, because if I have to tell you what to do, then I have to tell you what to do. Right. It's hard enough to get myself to do things, much less bother with you.
I know.
Maybe there's some temporary thrill in ordering people around, although it's not a thrill I've ever appreciated.
No.
But I'd rather that you did your own thing.
I hate dictatorships, and I wouldn't want to be the dictator. Is the bottom line. Money. Okay, yeah. What? Yeah. I mean, it's pleasure. I'm a very self-disciplined person. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I work out for an hour, and it hurts every day before dawn.
How old are you?
60. And I'm in better health than when I was 30. And part of it is because I'm not a sensualist, because I can actually do that. I mean, I like feeling good, but it's not high on my list of priorities. You know what tempts me? This. That's what tempts me. And I know it's true. And I know I have that particular tendency, and that knowledge is power. Why? Because that knowledge is being stored in the episodic memory of my hippocampus, and it's accessible by my prefrontal cortex, and I can use it to manage my limbic system. And that's being fully alive. As far as I'm concerned, that's being fully alive. And when my students understand that, they can not just avoid errors, they can feel like they have control. They can feel like they have a sword and shield on their hero's journey. That's what that's
how do you get them to start envisioning their future pathway in a more multidimensional manner?
So among other things, we talk about the process of discernment.
Yeah, discovery. Okay.
Yeah, discovery of their own.
And what do they have to do practically to engage in that?
I ask them to contemplate questions that don't have clear answers, but do have understanding. Because this is the essence of how philosophically how discernment works. So I'll ask, and I've done this to my adult children as well. When my kids were 18 years old, I would make them write a business plan. As a B school professor, I can kind of get away with that, right?
Yeah.
And the whole point was, what are you going to do with the next 5 years of your life? You're the entrepreneur of your enterprise, and I'm the venture capitalist kind of. So I deserve a business plan.
Right.
I want you to tell me what you're going to do to find the answers to two distinct questions, or to find an understanding of the answers to two distinct questions. Why are you alive? And for what would you gladly give your life on this day? I want to know the answers to those questions.
Okay, why did you come in? Explain the rationale.
These are deeply existential questions that are rooted in almost every philosophical
So what's more important to you than the mere continuation of your life?
Yes.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, what would you die for? And also, what would you live for?
Yeah,
right? Those are the same thing. And the other one was?
Why are you alive? Which means who created you and for what purpose, in your belief.
Yeah, okay. So one of the ways that I had my clients answer that question is, we did this in this exercise that I made commercial, this future authoring exercise. It's something, and you can do this when you're arguing with your wife, for example. Well, so one of the things I always ask my wife, and she asks me too, when we're arguing, is like, what are your conditions for satisfaction?
Yeah.
Like, you disagree with what's going on here.
Right.
Even hypothetically, if I did what would satisfy you, what would that look like? Right? Well, you can ask yourself the same thing in your own life, which is like, okay, life is difficult, and it's rife with existential doubt. Could you imagine a situation where you were thrilled with your circumstances? Right. So what are your conditions for satisfaction? That is an exercise of discernment.
It is.
You have to treat yourself like you're someone you don't know. Right. It's like learning to please someone else. Like in a relationship, it's like, well, it takes a long time to know what makes your wife happy. Partly because it takes her a long time to know it too. It's hard because people have a nature, and what satisfies that nature has to be discerned. You have to notice it. You know, it's so interesting to understand that. It's like you have to discern what it is that actually motivates you, for example, rather than what you think should motivate you. Those aren't the same thing.
Oh, absolutely not. There's what you desire and what you desire to desire. There's a whole series of iterations about that. And a well-constructed life, the one in which you're really in charge, has good knowledge such that based on accurate knowledge of who you are and why you are, you can make the alterations that are appropriate.
Right, exactly.
That's what it really comes down to. And that's what, that's the best that has been, that we can use in behavioral science.